Friday, what's going on? I'm gonna have to. You know what? I've gotten a lot of videos lately getting demonetized because of music, so I'm just gonna leave the stuff on in the background and we'll just have a chat for the day. I figure what I'll do once people start to show up for the video, the live, I'll do a current system tour and then we'll talk about a couple of different options that I may have coming up in the system. Some final thoughts on my analysis of preamps, signal chain, certain significance that I've learned, differences that not a lot of people talk about. That's a big one for me, is when I see reviews and I see people talking about gear online, it's the majority of the discussions are very subjective impressions, and then a lot about features and function, which, I mean, to be honest, if you read the spec sheet, then you know how something works. If you can read details or a manual, then you don't need people to review the stuff. What I don't hear people talking about a lot are subtleties like, does it click and pop? Does it make any noise under operation? Is it built with a relay circuit? Is it built with step relay volume attenuators? How does the volume control function? Does it move in steps? Is it 0.5 decibels? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, is it analog? Is it certain details like that? In none of the reviews that I have listened to for a lot of different things, I have heard people talk about this stuff. So when I talked about my Hagel unit that I'm borrowing, potentially buying, and now I've got the volume control. It's a lot of volume change for one click. So, I mean, when I see people reviewing gear, I don't see too many people talking about stuff like that. When you have a remote and you have a unit where the volume control is so sensitive, you don't see it being demoed. People don't talk about that. They talk about how chocolatey it is and how, this and that about its sounds, and then it's got a remote, blah, blah. But, like, how does the remote work? Does it listen? Like, you can hear the clicks, right? So I'm going to click them one at a time, and then we'll see how loud it gets. Hopefully everybody can hear what's going on. I'm going to leave the view here so you can see kind of what's up. Pause in the music. Anyways, it's interesting. Just listening to reviews of gear is not as fulfilling as I'd hoped. And welcome to Friday, everybody. I know I don't have a thumbnail. I didn't schedule the live. You know how it is. Every Friday I do everything just kind of on the whim. It's pretty warm outside. We got a sunny day. There's quite a bit of relief in the air. The whole east coast of the U.S., central U.S., weather is a lot better, cooler temperatures. The hurricane going down the east coast is pulling cool temperatures down the east coast, so that's really awesome. And then I realized that Cedia is next weekend, I think, right? Let me just flip this camera. Yeah, Cedia is next weekend, and I was actually hoping to get out to Cedia because There's so many really cool things going on with gear. Dolly introduced some new speakers. They're really small bookshelf speakers. I think they look really cool. It's all of their usual technology. They're stepped down a little bit in terms of like their build. Well, I don't know about build quality. There's not a lot really revealed about it, but they're called Cupid. They're a passive bookshelf. They're colored, so they're themed, but they're more than just colored. It's the cabinet is colored and the woofer driver itself is colored, which is interesting because you don't often see that. Brands don't mess around with color that much. Kef is one of those brands that's renowned for doing color on everything. Their tweeters, the mid-range, the flanging, the woofer surfaces, the cabinet, the hardware rings. Kef colors absolutely everything, which is really good because if you have any kind of preference, then they have an option for you. I don't know how expensive it is to make that many options. I mean, because you have to do a run or have a supply of certain things if you're going to make that many options for people. So I imagine you have to have a lot. Just checking my phone here. I think we're good. Yeah, so Dolly has the new Cupid speakers coming out. They have a new subwoofer that came out recently. I think it's a 15-inch Purify surround sort of collaboration 15-inch subwoofer for Dolly. Cedia next weekend. I wish I was going. Is it next weekend? Or the week? 2 weeks. I think it's in 2 weeks. I think it's September 3rd. 4, 5, and 6, I think, Cedia, Denver, Colorado. Now, I wish I was going. I didn't plan for that. But I really wish that I could go and check that out. A lot of really cool gear there. I haven't seen a lot of new stuff in a while. I missed out on most of 2025, to be honest. I got to Toronto Audio Fest, Montreal Audio Fest. In 24, I did Florida, I did Expona. In 23, I did Montreal, Toronto, and Expona. I ran into a situation in 25 where I'm hosting a roommate, let's just put it that way. And that changed the dynamic a little bit, but then also the money is not really there and available. I didn't get any invites for things. So my visiting shows has kind of gone down, but I hope to get back to it in 26. I'm doing Toronto. I want to do Capital Audio Fest. I'm not really sure if there's any openings for that. Then through the new year, I don't know if CES is happening in January. Probably, but I don't know if I'm invited to something like that. I don't know if it's just industry only. Then February is Florida. March is the Montreal show, and then April is Expona. May, there's usually the Vienna Munich show. That's a long shot because it's very far and expensive. But if I can do the local ones, if I can do Toronto, Capital, Florida, Montreal, Expona, then I will have my near to the city 5 shows to go to try and showcase some new stuff. Follow along with things. And like I started this stream, when I'm listening to reviews, most of the reviews on anything, now I don't know if everybody follows like 100 different channels like I do. I follow everyone because I want to know what they're saying. I want to know 20 different perspectives. I want to know what 5 different people that have listened to, Dyn Audio's Contour A, the active bookshelf speakers that has an amp built into the stand. That's, how brilliant is that? Dyn Audio is amazing. To build the amplifier into the stand of a speaker where they already have existing technology for the bookshelf and they just shove the stand and electronics into the stand for the speaker, which you're going to need anyways. That's like a tower speaker, but not a tower speaker because you can't separate them. It's like one unit. That's pretty amazing stuff. Then LS60s, CAF model, all powered. The Focal Diva, all of that powered, powered towers / bookshelves. I have the Bucard Audio A10s. Amazing technology. But like I was saying, a lot of reviews don't cover every detail. They say a lot of the same things. Subjective opinion, which is like, I don't know, unless you really follow someone and you've learned to trust what they have to say and you relate to what they say, like Ron at New Record Day or Jay-Z Augie or Youthman or Gene at Audioholics or any number of people, unless you have followed them for a long time and found that they prefer what you prefer, then it's like bias matching, right? You watch a subjective opinion of a person like Steve Guttenberg, or who else is on the list? Who do I know that talks reliably about the sound? There's so many. There's like 50 or more different people that talk about subjective opinions. Aaron at Aaron's Audio Corner, now he has the Clipple machine. He is the resource that we all sort of need, whether you want to admit it or not. Having objective third-party standardized measuring really tells a story. Now, there's a lot of people with REW and microphones set up around the room, but the room is included in some of those measurements, like Danny Ritchie at GR Research. Andrew Robinson sometimes breaks out his measurements, and then Ron at New Record Day brings out his measurements. And a lot of them are like time gated, so after 200 milliseconds, the boundaries of the room are counted out of the measurements. Now, okay, that's all well and good, but I don't think all of them are going to match. They're going to be a little bit different. So you still have to rely on their subjective opinion. It's the bulk of the reviews. But the function of the unit, like how many people talk about whether or not there's hissing in the equipment, like ear to the tweeter, can you hear anything? Very few will actually talk about that for everything that they're reviewing. And I know that some people leave shit like that out because they don't want to smear the brand. Let's face it. If you have anything negative to say about a brand, they are way less likely to work with you in the future. They want their ass licked because that's what they expect out of reviews. They want advertising to be positive. No brand out there advertises negatives, or at least I have barely ever seen it. Some brands really embrace the negative. They'll write about it. They'll talk a little bit about it. They'll acknowledge that there was this and was whatever notice, we did this, we changed this. And I appreciate that because it shows that the brand, or at least their reps, are they're paying attention to the community. They're willing to get ahead of a mistake. Say, yes, we acknowledge this. This was a mistake based on whatever. The everything going, the engineering has changed, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm more liable or more likely to trust a brand that is talks about making mistakes and correcting them than I am about a brand that just has dirt behind the scenes. Like they just cover it up completely. They don't ever talk about it. They just run it forward because they want community and customers. They want customers to trust them, to just buy them, right? That's what they're relying on. Brian from Washington State, what's going on? How's the weather out there on the West Coast? A friend of mine that owns a company named Black Ocean Audio, if you're into speakers and bespoke looking, real wood, handmade, US source materials, European sort of brand drivers. If you're looking for anything like that, Black Ocean Audio in Oregon State, close to Washington, makes all of that stuff. I've really considered working with him about some speakers. I sort of want to ask a couple of brands if they're willing to like sponsor a build. There's only one brand that I would think about sponsoring a build like that, and that would be Purify. Purify, which I have in 2 different places if you guys want to walk with me this afternoon. So there's the weather. Beautiful, sunny. Purify modules. I have Purify modules in here. You can barely see it, but that red board, that's a Purify module. Come on, focus. Anyways, so Buckeye amps, these are the 7040 SA models. Amazing distortion-free, efficient, micro audio power supply with cat board. Really, really, really good stuff. Like 500 watts into 4 ohms or 200 into 8 ohms, pure clean power. The Arundels love them. I am running the Hagel P20 preamp now. Sounds amazing, super clean, very articulate. I upgraded the cables recently too. I'm running world's best cables. Those are 7-gauge twisted pair. Amazing speaker cables. Home Theater Denmark. Hey buddy, Tango in the chat. Messing around with my vinyls, but I'm listening. What's up with that new gear? Not really new gear. You know how it is. Brian saying I own Klipsch RP 8000, some of the big ones. And then E12's amazing. Amazing. See, these are the SB 1000 Pros. SV, so they're less powerful, slightly different technology in these. Still sealed, but the E112s have like some crazy driver technology and power. And then Arundel 1723 THX. So the reason why I wanted to work with maybe Purify is because they have some of the best sounding drivers in the industry. That's the Radiant Acoustics. I'm still waiting for amps for these. These are self-powered. So I've got the Bucard Audio set up here on a topping preamp. So that's why I want to work with Purify, because Purify is renowned for making some of the best sounding drivers in the market. Radiant Acoustics works with Lindorf and Purify to make the Radiant Clarity 6.2, 4.2s. Then Bucard Audio is using the Purify drivers in their A10 and then their new E50 model, which is a passive bookshelf. Absolutely stunning, like remarkable sounding drivers. In all reviews, you'll hear like Ron and Nemo Propaganda and a number of different guys, even like Steve Guttenberg himself. They all talk about how anything with the Purify driver has been like super well reviewed because they sound amazing. So 100% agree so much coming out. What colors of which colors of what exactly? So Black Ocean Audio. If anybody doesn't know, please Google them. I mean, if you're on a mobile device, thank you for being here and chatting. If you're on a TV, I understand that as well. If you're on a laptop and you're busy, that's cool. Do your thing. I'll just be here chatting until you hear something cool and then come in and chat. The reason why I want to work with someone in the US, someone who's a bespoke builder who literally puts their life on the line to build their products means that I can build something with him in a very particular way that no other company is going to be able to do, and way cheaper because they all charge at a premium because they're trying to cover their ends, right? Like even though Arundel Speakers sells direct, they probably made more than 200% on this speaker, right? They're covering costs, they're covering employment, they're covering shipping, they're covering insurance, they're covering their profits, right? Like the speaker, to buy it at retail for them, even direct, it cuts a lot of costs down for sure, but they're still charging more than twice what it costs to make the speaker. So if I'm paying someone that I know who is a reliable builder to put something together that is drivers, cabinet, and crossover tuning using clarity caps and using all of the best resistors and caps possible, Jupiter, Mundorf, whatever the case may be, whatever we need to do to get the best sound, and using all purified drivers in a very specific and dedicated tower. And my idea for the tower, I don't want to give it away, is basically an MTM with triple woofers. So it's similar to this. This is 8-inch drivers. So this is MTM because these are 2.5 way. These are just bass. I don't know if everybody knew that. Typically it's like this is 2.5 way, and these are all bass. In some cases, like SVS makes the prime tower. The bottom 3 6-inch woofers is all bass, and then the inverted top and tweeter are mid and tweeter. This one, in this case, it's MTM Diapolito. So Diapolito array, Acora Acoustics uses that. T+A uses that. Rockport Acoustics uses that. Who else? Like pretty much everybody. There's a lot of brands that use MTM smaller drivers, like 3-inch mid-range, tweeter in the middle. Tecton has its thing. Coaxial drivers don't count, but it's similar. So essentially just MTM plus a bass module, which would be 3 Purify 6s or bigger, maybe 8s, depends. If I put three Purify 8s into a cabinet, oh my God. They're already ridiculous. I'm not even really sure what 3 8s would do in a cabinet. The biggest that I've ever heard are the 6s, and they're already dominating my room. They have so much bass. And it's tight, it's articulate, the mids are balanced, and they have a tweeter now. Purify makes mid-ranges from 4.5 inches all the way up to the Dolly subwoofer that's a 15-inch woofer now. So if you'd run Purify with a tweeter, 2 5s, and then 3 8s, oh my God. The drivers are expensive, but I think that would be pretty incredible. And the whole point of building with someone like Nick at Black Ocean Audio in, Handmade in Oregon, is he and I can work together on the design to get it perfect. So I think that's super valuable. I'm going to have to abandon my stream here for a second. I'm going to put on some generalized copyright-free music. You guys want to hang out for a little bit? Put some questions in the chat. I need to answer the call of nature. So yeah, we're using free copyright background music just for a couple minutes while I do the deeds, as it were. I started my stream and I was super excited, but I didn't anticipate some of the fluids kicking in. So while I have stepped away for the next 2 minutes, do me a favor, Google Black Ocean Audio, find out what I'm talking about, and then you can leave your comments in the section there. If you're watching on a TV, you probably already have it called up, and then you can comment later. But yeah, I'm going to step away for 2 minutes, 2 minutes-ish, and then I'll come right back, and then we'll continue the chat. And then for now, just check out Black Ocean Audio or Purify Audio, and then you'll kind of get caught up with what I'm talking about in terms of the conversation. And then I'll be right back in 2. I'm back. Sorry about that. That was a couple minutes. Beautiful today. Sounds up my alley. Very relaxed, sort of chilled music. Let me see. That's the name of that tune if you want to hear it at home. I live in Tri-Cities, Washington. Let me see. Where is... Let me Google it on screen here for everyone. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough running a business these days. There's lots of stuff happening out there. So there you go. Oh, Seattle, Washington. My bad. I thought it was Oregon, but it's not. So Instagram's a lot of the place that he has a lot of photos shared, a lot of videos, stuff like that. Handcrafted from the finest components. So the high demand, they're basically built to spec. So people will order certain things, capacitors, all that kind of stuff. And then they get built to spec, like whatever you want done with them. That's how they get made. Special like inlays, different wood finishes, combinations. Because it's specially made, you can get certain features. And if you recognize the woofers there, those are CEOS Nextel, I think Nextel drivers. Amazing custom inlays there, special finishes and colors depending on the artist. And then the big bad boys, you get your two-way, 2.5-way sometimes, you know, you could do it that way. Get an extra bass module, front ported, so you have the phase groupings. So let me see if I can get... The real joy are the big towers that he makes. There's the Knick-Knack, La Chiffre. This is the new babies. This is the MTM that I was talking about. And then there's a bass module. Then there's the double bass module. And then the Electra King is the next one. It's 2.8 powered subs. Amazing. So these are 5.5 drivers. But because they're small and fast, they're very quick. So let me see if I can go in here. Oh, the sites. I can go on to the Instagram. Buckeye, I would love to hear, definitely. Oh yeah, the Buckeye amps, the Purify modules in the Buckeye amps are amazing. Speaking of, I'll show you a picture of them. I think I have in my downloads the internals for my amplifier. I'm not really sure. Should be in here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So that's the internals for my amps. There's the Purify board, the micro audio power supply that has increased capacitance and control. Then the 40,000 microfarad cap board that assists with the power draw. Amp board does here, and then, you know what I mean? So the Buckeye Audio makes the cap board and the input board. And there's I think it's a Texas Instrument op amp. I would actually like to see if I can change it to a Sparkos op amp, just because I hear Sparkos amps are really, really amazing. So that's what's in the Buckeye amp over here. And it's super clean, super high controlled, good damping factor, great sound, transparent. Have no issues at all with these amps. And the fact that they're so small and there's no heat coming off them, I love them. I love these kind of amps. Like, I know that Hagel makes the sound engine, and, you know, Class AB is a very big staple, and everybody loves, you know, all that kind of stuff. Oh, Brian was saying you were talking about a brand that has colors. Oh yes, so that was Dolly Audio. Dolly Audio released a new speaker called the Cupid. So Kupid. It's a very small bookshelf speaker. They're advertising it right now to come out very soon. And they've colored their drivers and all that kind of stuff. So let me see if I can find it. Let me look it up on the Facebook. Because why not? That's where everybody goes for their information these days. Does the North American site have it? Yeah, here we go. So there's the speaker options. That's the new colored speakers from Dolly. And they colored, say, the cone material's colored. See that? Custom material. The cabinet is colored. The faceplate's colored. And I mean, as a company, you have to order all those parts separate. You're running a bunch of different SKUs for the driver material, cone material, and the surround. Does that surround look blue? No, it's black. So it's just the cone materials that are dyed a different color, which is cool because it's a pressed paper cone, and they could easily get different color there. So the bluish one, yeah, the blue one. Of course, the classic black, subtle and white. This one's like a dark walnut color. So I think this is really cool. I think, and I suggested to them that they need to come out with a red one for Valentine's Day. And then this is the other bad boy. This is the Dolly subwoofer that they just released, and it's a 15-inch Purify surround woofer. Like, what the flying... So that's next weekend. 3, 4, 5, 6 CEDIA. They're going to be showcasing that one. I wish I could get down there. I didn't plan on being there. So Dolly speakers. And then if you go into news, you have upcoming decline. Let me see. Coming soon. So there you go. That's the first look of the back of the speaker. It's a new terminal cup with a nice port. So they are passive. So there is a full grill. So they have gold. Oh my God, why would you do that? When I change colors, it goes all the way back up. Put the color selection at the top, you dumbass. I can't blow it up. I can't make it bigger. Anyways, yeah, it's really, really cool. But then KEF also has that. KEF speakers are all colored. Basically, they have, typically they have their white, black, but I mean, like, look, KEF has their blue. Let's go on. So they're black and gold, and then they have red, then they have green. There's a typical black, blue, black, silver in the reference. You know what I mean? So KEF is one of those companies that's got tons and tons of colors, and like these are like close to my favorite speakers ever. The design on these, like, can you get any better than that? It's so clean and elegant looking. Their designs are just flawless. The front of the cabinet is smooth. Everything is tucked away. It's one of the most industrial looking speakers ever. I really, really, really love what they've done with these. The R11s and the reference 5s, whatever they are. So I really, really like what KEF is doing. That's one of my considerations, because in here I have a lot of space. And Carmine's here. What's going on? Hope you're doing well. Going to audition KEF Meta R3 in blue indigo. Perfect. Please check in and tell us what you think. Brian's saying I use isoacoustics on all my speakers. Yeah, you and me both. I've got all of the subs on the Aperta stands. I've got the ISO Gaias on my on the towers. I haven't tried any of the Neo stuff yet, but definitely recommend ISO acoustics on everything that you can afford. I have them on my Bucard Audios up there. True Voice of Reason, what's going on? Yeah, so these speakers, and let me grab a tape measure. I'll be back in 2. How long was it? I don't know. It was a fish. So the tweeters are right now, they're about 35 and a half off the floor. 36 inches is the normal. So that's actually right where you'd want some seating height, right? Like I sit a little bit higher than that. Sorry about the camera angles. That's absolutely terrible. La Chiffre M stand, really nice. Yeah, La Chiffre are the staple model that Black Ocean Audio makes. They are some of the more popular ones. They've been demoed at shows a couple times. There's a few of them out in the wild, but again, like, he's a new guy in the business. It's a competitive industry. Reviewers won't fucking touch it because it's a no-name. Basically, to them, it's a no-name brand. They're not paying for the advertisers, so, you know, people in reviews don't want to touch them because they're unknown, they're unproven. So it takes a lot of support to get a new business off the floor. I think the economy in the US, with this built in America, support your American neighbors, build it in America sort of theme in the next year, has Black Ocean Audio in the most amazing spot to support and watch him grow. Buckeye Audio, also an American brand. Like, I'm in Canada and I'm still advertising for the US because, let's face it, the US has got a massive population. They've got some of the best policies in terms of like freedom of speech and expression, security focused, peace in general. I mean, I think the US is on an uptrend right now for making a lot of very, very valuable corrections. I think, you know, they're saying that the stock market in the last, you know, even in the last few days, there's been some hesitation around what's happening going forward. And I think that it's being corrected, right? There was consolidation. There was talk about the Fed and interest rates, and then there's also like global blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants to hear this shit. Anyways, it's audio related, because if you want to get into something now and you want to invest in something that's going to matter in the future and you don't want to waste your money, then you have to put it in the right spot. These are from Norway. These are built in China, but it's an American company. Purify modules are built in Denmark, but it's an American company selling the receiver. Or the amp and building it themselves. Black Ocean Audio built in the USA, drivers that are going to be made in Denmark, and if I can get my hands on them anyways, then hopefully at a better price. I want to see it grow, right? I want to support. I want to put my money where my mouth is. I don't want to just talk like some virtue signaling specialist on a keyboard. I want to actually stand behind these brands and put my money where the support is needed. If you want your own country to grow, you got to buy into the country. It doesn't matter what the extra cost is. It doesn't matter, like, if everybody wants to shit on the economy for being, oh, everything's made in China, everything blah, 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 then okay, then stand up and do something about that. Buy the stuff that's built local. Support the local brands. You don't look at one thing and say, oh, it's built in China, but it's Dolly or it's B&W or it's whatever. Like, all the stuff is made in China. Cabinet, everything else made in China. SVS made in China. The chassis probably made in China. Hegel unit here, made in China. Rotel, made in China. This fucking carpet probably made in China. Those lights are made in China, that's for sure. Those little wooden pieces probably made in China. Those stands right there, made in China. Do I give a shit? No. The only thing that I care is that, yeah, I'm sending the money to another country. Meanwhile, my local economy is taking a shit and my rent is expensive. So you know what I mean? Like, it's time to stop with the talking points, and it's really time to put your wallet to work. Support local, buy into Geshelli Labs. The Geshelli Labs is a company, family run and built company in Florida. They make headphone amps, they make DACs. They're coming out with a preamp, they're coming out with power amps, monoblocks. They're working with Fidelity Imports into the United States to distribute their gear. So look into local brands. Black Ocean Audio, same thing. Bespoke, specialized, very detailed, meticulous work by a guy who is very passionate, very detailed, very, very, like, his life is on the line into the company sort of thing. He values everything that he's doing. You know what I mean? It's guys like that that deserve to win because they're sweating to make it work. There's a lot of other companies out there in the world, like everything under the Harman Kardon brand and the Massimo, whatever you want to call it, B&W, Denon, whatever. Like those brands are conglomerate billion-dollar companies. They don't need the fucking help. I mean, I like them. I respect them. It's business. I understand. But like, the thing is, you have to follow up with what you're saying. If you value the idea of supporting the economy and you want to see things grow in a better, positive way, spend the money at home. You know, that's all I'm saying. I mean, for me, honestly, my idea was to go back to Paradigm speakers, maybe Bryston amps or Sim Audio. Sim Audio is another brand that I've been looking at. Sim Audio is built in Montreal. Bryston is built here in Ontario. Paradigm is built here in Ontario. PSB speakers, well, they're assembled in China, and some of the other stuff is built in China as well, but they're distributed through Canada. So you know what I mean? Like, I'm ranting a little bit here, but it means a lot. Like, there's a lot of talk about stuff that goes online, but we have to follow up. Otherwise, the industry and the hobby is gonna change in ways that we don't want it to. You have to stand up for that, and you have to buy where it's important. True Voice of Reason says, how long was it on and off the scales, Nick? What? Man, True Voice of Reason's got some of the most intelligent references. And dude, when you drop some stuff like this, I need to go to Google. You're too smart for the chat. You need to explain some of the stuff. I want to see the little guys grow, but I don't want to see them stunted by any of this stuff going on. Yeah, and that's what I was referencing there. The industry and the markets, like, people don't want to buy. They don't want to buy unknown. They want someone to speak to them. And like I referenced earlier in my discussion about reviewers like Steve Guttenberg, if he says something, then people buy it. If Jay Ziagi says something, it's not his last name, but you know what I mean. If he says it, people trust it because they know him. But they won't touch stuff that's unknown. They won't even bother with a brand that's made in the USA, but they'll review a ton of other shit from all over the place because of a number of reasons. And I don't want to speak for them or put words in their mouth because I respect those guys. But a lot of it, from my opinion and my perspective, is you get something on a review because the review channel is like your bread and butter. The review and the YouTube side of things is what pays your bills. If it's an unknown brand from out of nowhere that nobody knows about and it's untrusted, you're taking a big risk because maybe nobody cares about it. Nobody will watch. Nobody watches, you don't get paid. So I mean, to say that reviews are unbiased, that's a little, I don't know. I'm a little bit back in the questions here. Give me a second. So question, buddy. Since I like high SPL but also clear, detailed sound, what brand of bookshelf would you advertise me look at? I'm thinking of wall mounted or high stands. I mean, right now, those Arundel 1528s are they're THX level, you know. I mean, even per listen would be up there in terms of SPL. Both of those brands hit THX levels. So that would be something I would think about. Have been looking at a new line from Arundel some time now. Yeah, 1528s. Then saw a post about on Facebook, Dyne Audio E30 being partly made in China with Danish parts. Yeah, I mean that's what it takes to make things at a cheap price. People don't want to spend a lot of money, and everything's competitive. So that's why the labor went to China. And now look how amazing China's doing. China's economy has been doing so well, they can literally just like, we don't care about you anymore. We've got our own money. And that's what happens if you offshore a lot of your manufacturing. That's why Trump is doing what he's doing with tariffs and in made in the USA stuff, because he knows, like, if you go off work for a year and then, you know, spicy air flu makes everybody stay home, and all of a sudden you have to rely on another country for your medicine, you're fucked. Like, you got to start making your stuff at home. Otherwise, you have to rely on everybody else who could use it as a power struggle. It's not good. I mean, that's the whole thing, is to get everything under control, or at least make a good deal with people who are reasonable. I mean, drop all of the drama, make a better deal with everybody around the world. It's a global market. I like the guy from Buckeye. He sure works to make the consumer happy. Yeah, Dylan's a great guy. Dylan knows his shit. And he's not, I mean, the chassis is really boring, but the components inside measure better than pretty much everything else. And of course, Buckeye's only been on a number of channels, because that's another USA made amp brand that, you know, hardly anybody knows about or cares about. Thanks for showing that the blue is beautiful. The Dolly speakers, absolutely. If not Bookshelf, then these bad boys, Infinity Renaissance 90s. I don't know them all that well. Had a friend of mine who had them in the 90s. They were awesome, cool. So off the scales reference to when you were measuring the speakers. Yeah, Nick said this at the show where he was in the audience. Let me see, hold on. Audience with us, and at the end, one of the other musicians came out with a measuring tape. Yeah, it was like, Nick's response is, how long? But cheaper. I don't have the money for per listen. Yeah, per listen's a little bit expensive, but you're talking about SPL, right? Something that's made for SPL a lot of the times doesn't have the finesse, because they're sacrificing some of the volume for finesse, right? So I think it comes down to us being secured with stuff we get. I grew up with NED, B&W, Cerwin Vega. I knew I could buy that without anyone else approving and be happy. Yes, exactly. It's bias. Like, I grew up with Paradigm Bryston and like all the stuff that I saw local, but it's not the best in the world. And it wasn't until I started experimenting and listening to my friends and, you know, like learning about things at audio shows that I learned about the Arundel Towers that like everybody reviewed, and that's how I ended up with them. And these are some of the best I ever had. I still love Sonus Faber, but their new stuff is too expensive. It's like over $10,000 for the new top tower. And then MoFi, the V10s just came out. Those V10 towers seem amazing. I can't imagine how much bass they put out, but they're probably rolled off because the tweeter is soft, the way that they're tuned. I want something that's articulate and very capable. 92 dB sensitive with a waveguide. These are doing the job. I really like these at 92 dB sensitivity. And then a Class D amp that's 96% efficient. And then a Hagel preamp that has all the control that I need. I'm getting the sound that I want out of this, but I would have never got here if I just stuck to my laurels. You know, it wasn't until I stepped out of my comfort zone and started experimenting and trusting people did I realize that this was possible. And that's also what I'm talking about with taking a chance on unknown brands and keeping it made in the USA, right? Made in Canada, made locally, supporting local economies. If you don't spend the money local, then what do you expect from stuff? Customers and brands are just going to go and buy it from somewhere else. So that's why I'm really leaning into the idea of Black Ocean Audio. He's really passionate about what he's doing. He cares about the way that it sounds. He's after something that's very unique in my taste, I think. I still need to hear them, so I might buy a small pair just to confirm, and then once I have I have that knowledge and I know what he's aiming for, then we can tweak and tune and make, something beautiful. And then once I have them, will you guys trust me? So my dad's friends had these brands and played vinyls too, so my upbringing have been full of music. Don't care about the looks when it comes to power amps. Buckeye amps will be there in the future. Yeah, Buckeye's got a lot, like their Encore stuff, their Hypex modules. The new Purify module, the 9040 SA, is unfreaking believable. Let me show you the specs. On the new 9040. Where? I need to find the specs. I just posted it to my Instagram. It's definitely on my Facebook as well, but it should have been here. There we go. Hold on. So here we go. Here's the 9040 modules. Okay, so before I show this, anybody who can type a comment, type in what you think is a good or average low distortion number in your amps. I want to see it. Whatever percentage it is, THD plus noise number at whatever rating, type it in the chat. Let me know, and type it in, even in the comments after the video. Type it in and let me know what you think is a good THD level for a power amp. And then I'm going to show you the specs on this purified module. I'm going to watch all of you like in shock, and then comment again afterwards after I show you how surprised you are at the number. Home Theater Denmark saying I took a huge chance with M&K, bought it all online without having heard it once. It was that Danish support thing, that THX Ultra Dominus, that got me hooked. Yeah, and M&K is one of the best out there right now. Still, I mean, to this day, they're still amazing. But now I want other stuff instead of my Kefs. Kef is still really good, but their high frequency is tamed. They have a control on their highest frequency. You don't get the air. You don't get the air that I would want, if I'm honest. Said he was on Scott's podcast some time ago. He showed some new amps, and I was hooked. I think the ones that were around 700 watts in the forums. Yeah, so yeah, Scott and Kat's podcast. He was on with Scott talking about their Encore, the Encore 500s or more. I think Scott's got two of them driving his system at home, the JTRs. And those are massive systems. They're 1,200 watts. 1,200 watts of absolute clean power. It's amazing. I do believe you stated this before. Have you seen M&K's IW500? No, I haven't. So I am going to show the specs on the amp. So typically amp distortions are, you could type yes. Amp distortions are like 0.002%, right? Something like that. Does that sound reasonable? 0.01% in most cases, receivers and other things like that. And people want to say that that's a good value, right? Like 0.01% at rated power. I want to show you this module. Actually, that's not even the right. That's the one that's my module. Here is the Purify 9040BA. This is the second gen Purify module. Are you ready? Are you ready? 0.01, yeah. So that's the percentage. That's this number here. So you've got your rated power, THD, output, gain, blah, blah, blah. You're going to see all this stuff right now. Minimum to hold up would be 0.01% at 80% power, all channels driven music load. Okay, cool. You guys want to see how low the Purify modules are and why these are the best in the world? Can you guys see that right? Do you guys see the wattage numbers? So yeah, it does say at 100 watts. So that's a little bit fudging the numbers, if I'm honest. So the efficiency, 96% efficient at 4 ohms. But I mean, how often does anybody use 100 watts of power at 4 ohms? No, it's one more zero. That's 0006. That's 4 zeros. 4 zeros, my friend. That's a 10,000th of a percent. Like, that's wild. And here's mine. This is what I'm running. 0003 at 200 watts. And that's in there right now. Look at the specs. 250, 500, 950 into 2 ohms. And look at the noise level. Look. Output impedance, gain, idle loss. This one's actually, so there's output noise. Look at this. 14 microvolts. Like, how that's like next to nothing. Absolutely amazing. That's Purify modules. Again. Yeah, my amps are 500 into 4 ohms. Yeah, and these are 4 ohm speakers. But a very, very comfortable overhead because I've got the extra cap boards. So unbelievable amount of power and clean signal. It's basically a straight wire with amplification. It's what you would call so neutral. It's a neutral thing, and that's Purify. I mean, very nice numbers. Very, very nice. 4 zeros. Like I said, it's 1,000th of a percent in distortion at normal volumes. Normal, like 100 watts, 4 ohms, 200 watts, 4 ohms. Like, it's more than most people use. Think about how much wattage to get a certain decibel level at your home at a certain distance. It's way cleaner than most would ever really need. And to be honest, the new Marantz systems, the new Marantz Amp 10s use a modified version and modified power supplies, and these exact Purify modules in their amplifier. You could look it up. Marantz Amp 10s, the $16,000 chassis. $16,000 for Marantz stereo unit uses those amp boards. Buckeye is selling those monoblocks for $1,300. I'm not even shitting you. I'll look it up. I'll look it up right in front of your eyes. So Buckeye amps, those same modules. This is the new 6525 is the new Gen 2 Purify. So we're going to go in. Most advanced amplifier at unbeatable price. Encore Hypex, and then Purify. We're going to check out Purify amplifiers. Check this out. Look at this. The 1ET94. Look at this. $1,300 for that one I was just talking about. So 2 of them for stereo power is what? $2,600? And the Marantz stereo amplifier is 16 grand. So they say here 0.1% per channel. Obviously the numbers are way less than that. That's 0001. 400 watts. 0001 and 400 watts. And that's after the after the input board, after the electronics that are inside, the power supply is added, yada, yada, yada. Class D, this is all Buckeye amplifiers if you guys want to check it out. So there's the op amp that's used. I want to see if I can get Sparkos in these. I might even buy these, to be honest. I already have these ones, but I could always get better. I mean, I could put these on the tweeter, and I could put the other ones on the woofers. So there's amp select, there's gain settings, RCA, you can use the RCA plugs, there's special cables, purify module, micro audio power supply, which is awesome. Ultra high damping, it's got to be over 2,000. And then there's a bunch of case options. So that's Buckeye Audio. And then you also want to go over and visit the Black Ocean Audio. Black Ocean Audio speakers built in Seattle. Support your locals, honestly. Some really, really amazing stuff in here. I want to see. That's the Skiara. Look at that. Look at that beautiful, absolutely beautiful MTM. And you can get colors selected for you, wood choices, amazing high quality drivers, COS drivers, immaculate crossover work, really, really cool, like pure copper tube plates, laser engraved. You can't get better than that. Come on. Made in the USA. That's some gorgeous, gorgeous woodwork. There's Nick there talking about his work. There's crossover work that could be done. That's a special sort of check out everything. Check out everything that's over there. There's artists. Look at, he's got the same woodwork on the bass guitar as in the speaker, specially made for him. That's amazing. Trying out some new stuff. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I really like the guy. We've gotten along for quite a while. I'm excited to see where everything goes, but like any business, like it's competitive and everybody needs the support. I mean, the one that I'm most in love with are those. And that's sort of like what I'm talking about. But what I want to do is put the MTM up here and 3 woofers down here. These are sold. A friend of ours has these. But you can't, that's more beautiful than that. I mean, sure, that's pretty reliable, but Jesus Christ. Look at the difference. Come on. Not to knock Arundel, but it's over 2,000. That's a really, really good Dragon Ball reference. I love that. I need 1 3-channel amp, 2-channel amp for my setup, all 700. That would fit my system. Buckeye's got it, man. Buckeye amps are just, he's very reliable. Shipping overseas might be a bit of a problem. You have to email him about that, but otherwise, really, really good stuff. 100,000th. Count the number from the decimal over. Is it really? It's tens? One place is tens? Okay, so there you go. I'm learning. But I mean, that even proves the point even more. It's even lower distortion than I was even saying. 100,000th of a percent. 140 dB like SPL capability or dB range. 140. I mean, Purify is taking over pretty much everything. Clips everywhere in the system. This is Brian's system. 2JL E12s, 112 Cinema 40 is a good. I originally purchased the Cinema 40. And one of the channels on the unit showed up and it just shit the bed. There was something wrong with it right away. Popping, clipping, dropping out. I put it in the box and sent it back day one. Less than an hour. Cinema 40 in my system, less than an hour, and I sent it back. And I bought a Denon A10H, which is funny because I have the Bucard A10s and the Denon A10. Yes, from decimal first place is tens. Okay. So the ones is on the plus side, but tens is on the... Okay, interesting. So if I have like $1.99, that's not... Oh, okay. It's 9 cents is 100th from the... Okay, I guess that makes sense. It's been a while since I've mathed, okay? That's all the math I need to do. As long as I know this, then I'm good. Also, how do you guys measure woofer sizes? Do you guys measure from the cone or do you measure from the surround? So like, if I'm measuring across here, from the flange to the flange, that's 8 3/4 wide. If I'm measuring from the edge of the surround, that's 7 3/4. If I'm measuring from the surround outside, it's 7. So like, what's the size of this woofer? Is it 9 or is it 8? Like, what the fuck? Screw hole to screw hole is 8. But then are we measuring from in here? Because if we're measuring from in here, that's only 6, right? Like, how do you guys measure woofers? They claim that it's an 8-inch driver, but that's clearly wider than 8 inches. What the fuck? What are they using to measure with in Norway? And then SVS, the same shit. Measuring across the woofer from the bottom of the woofer to the top of the woofer. That's 1 foot. Well, I can't really. Essentially, it's 12 inches around the outside. Around the outside. So that's a proper 12-inch woofer there, around the edge of the basket. So it's really weird, like, having reviews and having people talk about stuff when it's subjective and not giving data, following up, giving a reference. If your reference is like, do I trust this person? Like, how reliable is that? Once you get it into your room and it sounds any bit of different, do you not trust them? Or, you know what I mean? Like, your ears are the only thing you can trust. Everything else is just a way to get closer to that decision, so to speak. But stuff like, how sensitive is the volume on your knob? Like, when you turn it up a little bit, like, how loud does it get right away? We're gonna do this experiment again. Listen to the clicks, or watch my thumb, and watch how loud it gets. That's quite a bit. Yeah, it's and the grindy remote. It's interesting, like certain functionalities of units, things like, does it hiss when you plug it in? Does it have any noise floor at all? Not a lot of people talk about that. They'll talk about the way it sounds, the way they think it sounds, what they did in the room, blah, 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 like all that stuff. But I rarely hear people talk about whether it has any kind of noise floor. It's interesting that people leave stuff like that out. 199, the 0.99 is 99 of 100th, so it's, yeah, 10/100th. Yes, old standard for speaker size was mid-surround to mid-surround. Yeah, okay, good point. Mid-surround to mid-surround. Even if I do that measurement This is not 8 inches. 6 3/4. It's 6 3/4. Like, that doesn't make sense. They advertise it as 8-inch drivers, but even the basket is 8 3/4. So what the hell? I don't know. I mean, the real number that matters is the effective cone area, right? But your standards are set to something else. So if you have 8-inch drivers, but your effective cone area is larger than an 8-inch driver, then you're actually getting more displacement than advertised, right? So if if you do something different with the woofer and the surround, as well as, say, like Purify, if they have if it's a long stroke driver or extended range driver or whatever the case may be, their FS in the driver is actually lower, which means you can get lower frequencies out of a smaller driver, which is why Purify is fucking awesome. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, it as deep as I think it should be. There's other things that, you know what I mean? Like, that's why you have 100 questions in the comments. The review language is a lot of compliments. It's a lot of kissing ass most of the time. Not always. Most people say, oh, I don't like doing negative reviews because if I don't like something, it's not worth my time. Like, cool, it's not really Consumer Reports. That means everything is biased towards what you like, which is cool because it's called YouTube. But in terms of the market, it's not really telling the whole story. You need people that are able to just tell you whatever it is regardless. That way you have a clearer picture of what's coming out there. Even if, say, like, I made the mistake of doing an unboxing of something that wasn't ready for consumer eyes, it paints the company negative, and then they don't like it. I mean, to the point where I think, I mean, right now it's hard for me to know for sure, but I think my entire relationship with that brand is not very good, because what I was doing was showcasing something that was real, but it was undesirable. So telling the truth isn't really what they want. Advertising in a positive light is what they want. They want people to feel confident. They want people to trust what they're hearing. They want people to follow along without having to question it. They want that confidence in purchasing. Of course, they're in business. They don't want doubt. I mean, look what happens to the stock market when people don't know what the hell is going to happen. Like, are we going to open up the border? Are we going to close the border? Is this country going to war with that country? Is the price of oil going up or down? Is everything going to be in stock? I mean, look what happened when COVID hit the market. Everybody went fucking crazy for toilet paper. Toilet paper stocks must have went through the roof. So, I don't digress. But what I'm saying is, when you get into a review territory, grains of salt need to be like bags of winter road salt sometimes. Sometimes you need to throw salt on the whole thing, like you're dry aging a piece of beef. You're aging prosciutto. You need, you know what I mean? You need some seasoning on that. JL subwoofers, once you've heard them, you'll understand why, yeah. JL Audio has always been one of those top-end brands. But, you know what? I've also heard that JL Audio sounds flabby. They don't sound tight. They sound, you know, they have some grunt, but they're not accurate. I heard your speakers are pretty much endgame for most. These ones, yes. The 1723s are about as good as anybody could expect to get. 93 decibels sensitivity, 3 port tunings available, 32 hertz in room, 25 in room. Pretty amazing in the right place. And this room, as most people call it, is too small. However, this room is also treated differently. I've got acoustic treatments everywhere to change the sounds. So it's not just... The dimensions of the room are not very big. I mean, I could definitely use another 100 square feet. But at the same time, I added subs. So then the subs are shifting the bass notes and waves around. So I wonder if that's required for what hole size? What hole size? Come on, man. Toilet paper during the vid was the shift. Yeah, it was. And I mean, it's a reflection of fears and panic and market and buying and not buying, and you know what I mean? So that's why nobody wants a negative review on their stuff. They would, for the most part, I feel like most brands would prefer to have no light shine on their negatives. If there's any negatives, it's all behind closed doors before the review goes out, before anybody sees anything. If there's, you know what I mean? Like, it's not talked about how many returns there are, how many RMAs there are, you know, but that's, as a customer and you're buying into a brand and you're investing, like, how many returns have there been issued? Like, Amazon will tell you how often a product is returned. You know, that's what you want to know. You want to know honest opinions. You don't want a flock of people kissing up to a company for the sake of advertising. Then you're going back to the same thing like CNN, brought to you by Pfizer. I don't have to tell that story. You know how much shit Pfizer's in for some of the cases they have opened about their medical history. So then if people are doing that for everything, then you're not getting the truth from reviewers. You're getting what they want to tell you. Am I a reviewer? No. No, I'm not a reviewer. Most of the stuff that I have or I've ever had in here comes by way of a unique situation where my style reaches certain people, and I have either put work in with photography and otherwise that allows me the chance to do the reviews or for certain items that I have. Bucard Audio and Purify, I love them to death. The proof is in the pudding. Everything they make is phenomenal. And the reviews and the real world experiments and all of that stuff all align the same. Purify makes some of the best shit in audio, period. Some of the best. To be fair, let's just call it 1 in 3. 1 in 3 audio brands. And I mean, they make drivers, amps, and I think they're working on a power supply. Don't quote me. But I think there's going to be a Purify power supply. And when that comes into the market, oh my God. I might just have to start making my own Purify amps. I have to find somebody really fancy to make the chassis. And I'm going to make vertical fucking amps. How do people feel about amps that are vertical to like stand right here? Think about that amplifier if it was a little bit, you know, a little bit different and like standing beside the tower. What do you think? And then you have like a 2-foot cable. Instead of buying 8 feet of useless cable and dangling it across your room, you put the amp right beside your tower, and then you have to run, you know, shielded XLRs. XLRs are already pretty shielded because of the nature of XLR, but that's why. So you run 8 feet of XLR to an amp that's right beside your speaker, and then you run 2 feet of cable from the amp to your speaker, and then you run, and then the amp stands like, you know what I mean? Like vertical right beside your speaker. Like Nagra, and Mark Levinson makes some, and Quad makes some. Who else makes vertical amps? There's a couple. Thiel. I think Thiel makes some vertical amps. Not many. And I mean, for the most part, they're usually like that higher end type. And I don't see anything wrong with vertical. Like, why not? Like, our rack. And the thing is, like, Class A, B, Class A tube amps are all made a certain way. If you get a Class D amplifier, like Orchard Audio makes a Class D amplifier that is so small it could fit in my pocket. It's, you know, his Star Crimson Audio, no, Star Crimson Ultra, no, yeah, Star Crimson Ultra, but the Star Crimson Mono 25, it's, you know, I think $1,300, a little bit more because it's a GAN-fed amp. Really good power supply, great sound, good bass, good clarity. I've had them in the room. They operate with no heat at roughly 200 watts, 150 into 8 ohms, I think. Good build, good chassis. Could fit in my pocket. It weighs like 4.5 pounds. It's so small, I could probably put it under that speaker and you wouldn't even see it. So, you know, like, why 8 feet of cable? Just buy some Canair, like 4S11 or 411S, whatever it is. Like really, really good twisted pair cables. Run 2 feet of cable. The resistance on 2 feet of cable has got to be nothing. So then you're getting even better signal from the amp to your speakers and less of an antenna effect. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's the way to do it. You don't want to run extra cable if you don't have to. Put the amp right beside your speaker and run like a little piece of cable. Like the M101 cables or in Acoustica with the air coil or air insulated cables. Amazing stuff. Anyways, I am going to get out of here. I'm running into bathroom problems again. I'm on the hot seat today. Look at the sun blasting in my room. It like makes my foot disappear. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging out today. Up to 20 people in the chat watching. I hope that this video deserves some sort of share. That would be nice. Other people found out about my channel. Thank you, Brian, for sharing your system, your clip system, your JL Audio subs. True Voice of Reason, thanks for hanging out today and giving us the references. I do appreciate you as always. Home Theater Denmark, thanks for stopping in and talking about history and MK, and definitely talk to Buckeye Audio about your amps. I think that would be really awesome, supporting a brand. But then again, I mean, if you're in Denmark, Purify's already there, man. Maybe think about building your own. I mean, you can't go wrong. Encore Hypex power supplies, a couple of different features. You can buy amp kits. You know, just do it that way. Carlos Gomez is here. Those speakers are too big for that room. Well, thanks for your opinion, but I disagree. And I never asked for your opinion, so a nice way to jump into the chat and be like, those towers are too big for that room. Nobody cares. Negative, Carlos. Carlos, those are too big. Does my foot look too big? How big is my room? How much can you tell of my room from this angle? How big is the room, Carlos? You know so much. These are too big for my room. How big is the room? How many square feet is my room, smartass? Bunch of old-timey amps are vertical. Last one I saw was the Quad 303. As big as my ego. Oh, burn. Point proven. You don't know how big my room is. So to come in and say that without knowing otherwise that's a show of ego right there. And then attacking me instead of answering my question is fucking ad hominem. So it shows weak argument. Loser. Appreciate you too, my friend. Thank you guys for being here. What is it? Novalux Stereophonic has one of his on his channel. Novalux Stereophonic is a channel? Cool. 3 meters by 3 meters. Oh, you've seen the room. Okay. Yeah, but what's the point? If they're too big, what is that supposed to mean? Mirage Bryston is here. Hi, I checked in and the live is on. Yeah, cool. So I want to ask Carla, joking aside, because that's what we're doing, is we're joking and we're whatever. What does it mean too big? I've heard a lot of people say that, but what do you mean too big? What's the result? What happens if, just as a theory, and we'll hang out until I can get an answer here, because the whole point is learning. What happens if these are too big for the room? What is the downside? Tree Ant is here. What is that? Is that a fox? That's a pretty cool. Means your speakers will overpower the room. What about this? What about this? Why not say you don't need subs in there? And what do you mean overpower? What if I don't turn them up? See, you got all this, like, what volume am I listening to? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's my average listening volume? So many assumptions. No, my room isn't even 3 meters by 3 meters. It's smaller than that. And I've got two 12-inch subwoofers in here, dude. That's, you know what I mean? When you want to talk about overpowered, why not say you don't need subs? Those are too big. Right? Like, it's so much audiophile assumption and, like, arrogance. Just be like, that's too big. You know what I mean? It means you can't run it at optimal levels. What's optimal levels? What's an optimal level? I thought that was subjective. There's no such thing as optimal level. All audio enjoyment is subjective. So why would, you know what I mean? Like, that's, Jesus Christ. 4 plus 4 equals 5. But the size of tower doesn't equal too big. It's too big for your eyes, maybe. It's just, I don't get it. I don't understand why it's even important to say so. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me. You're saying something based on an assumption. And what if I have the phase corrected with the subs? Because I can do that for the room size. And I've got them situated in a certain way where, you know what I mean? 80 to 90. Yeah, and I barely listen at 70. 65, 70. True voice of reason. Wait, let's back off that. I don't need any more of that in chat. I honestly, it's not necessary. I'm not going to read it out for respect's sake, but honestly, let's go back from there. I'm having a discussion based on the points of view that I'm given. So Treant is, I hope I'm saying that right. Treant. It doesn't matter if they're overpowered. I mean, I will agree to the point that if I turn them up, I will overpressurize the room and it will be an absolute mess in here. Can I overpower the room? Fuck yes, I can. Do I? No, I don't overpower the room because I fucking know the difference. And I don't need people in my chat room to come in and say, that's too big. Like, depending on what hole you're trying to put it in, maybe it's too big. But in here, we're fine. Just fine. Thank you. So I like big loudspeakers. The bigger, the better to some extent. Yeah, 80 to 90 max would be too much. Thank you, True Voice of Reason. I see what we've done there. Said you'll get boundary reinforcement or cancellation. Yes, but I have subs in here to interact with the towers and the position and main listening position for phase correction. So now what? It's not overpowered if it's balanced, right? So I have a Boss 12-inch RMS car sub in my room and powered by JL amp. Nice. So Carlos is arguing physics, but he's never been to my room, so he doesn't know how everything else is tuned. So that's typical audiophile. They just use their eyes And then they bring in math, and they're like, oh, this math, assumption, math. And then, they just throw a judgment at what they're looking at without actually being in the room and listening to it. It is like that's why I'm giving them a hard time, because a lot of people in the audiophile world love to just look at shit and judge it from a distance without actually being to the room. So Carlos, how about you come to my room, dude? Why don't you come here and sit your ass in this chair and then listen to the system a couple of times and then tell me what you think about the way it sounds at my listening levels under my conditions. Not optimal, not pushing them too hard, not driving them to the fucking rails like Stereophile or somebody else wants to tell you in a magazine, not book smarts, The mirror, did somebody say the mirror is to show the nice feet? No. The mirror is to do this. Let me move this. So now you can see the front of my amp and you can see the back of my amp at the same time. That's why. Matej, I don't know how to say that completely, but that's why. I know it's a little weird, but the real reason is so I can show the back of the unit at the same time. Yes, see, thank you. I appreciate you asking before judging me for having a mirror in my room. Like, what's the mirror for? You're such a pervert. You like to look at yourself while you're looking in the mirror? Listen to music, watching your own feet? What kind of a dirtbag are you? No, it's to show off the gear. The stands are here because I wanted to put bookshelves in here. Couple of things. Did you guys see this? So I can turn off the lights individually and everything else stays on. So I can isolate everything from the power amp. Can you tell me Trent? Yes, it's true. Trent is easier. So let me see. G with the nice cat. That's pretty cool. So I got some Modiant Shot MS 10, MS 20, MS 30 all hooked up. 6-channel Marantz. I'm not really sure what those are. Mordant? Does anybody know what those are? Marantz throwing out 100 watts. I piss people off way down the road. Well, as another audiophile, do me a favor, respect your neighbors. I mean, it's cool to listen to music loud, and we have a right to, but at the same time, it's not like Klipsch says, pissing off neighbors since 1950, whatever. Like, pissing off your neighbors is not a cool thing. It's not. I don't understand why people think it's cool to be some kind of an asshole. It's not cool. No part about being an asshole and taking credit for being an asshole is a sign of being a narcissist. Narcissists love attention, even if it's negative attention. And all they do is throw shit around, waiting for someone to pat them on the head or smack them on the ass and say, hey, don't do that, or hey, good for doing that. You know what I mean? So like, pissing people off isn't the kind of thing you want to do in general. So I understand it happens, but let's try not to do that. Just as a PSA from me to my community, I don't do that. My neighbors are here. They're home during the day, but these are off by like 6 p.m., which it pretty much is right now, right? Like, what time is it? Yeah, it's 6 o'clock almost exactly. So, and it's not loud. And that's one reason why, Carlos, I don't listen at ridiculous volumes, because it can overload the room, because it's a small room. I've got the measurements, but I've tuned and phase controlled it so I can get down to 20 hertz without interfering in the room. And I've got the Weem Pro Plus there, plus the PEQ filters in my SVS subs, notching the frequencies down where these and the room has its resonant frequency, because it's 8-foot ceilings and 10 by 13 feet, so you can do the math. It has certain like null points, but I use the phase of the subs plus the output of the towers to compensate for that in the room. And that's intelligent system tuning. And you can't know that by looking at my system without saying, hey, instead, next time, maybe look at someone's system and say, how did you tune your speakers and subs so it does not overload your room? Let me see some clapping in the chat if you agree with me. It's just perspective. It's about being nice to someone and asking the right questions first instead of looking at something and assuming. You know what that is? You know what I call what happened here? Those are too big for your room. That's the same thing like being racist. It's the same fucking thing. It's not based on the same thing as race, but you're looking at the size and you're looking at the room and you're judging it without knowing anything else, saying that it's no good. And if you're going to try and quote physics, then you can go down the same road with a lot of other stuff that justifies other racist and other kinds of judgmental behavior. It's not right. There's other things to talk about. Mirage Bryson says, I love cables. They're like jewelry. Gee, they stopped making them in the 90s. Thank you for sharing the system. Yeah, I like a full surround sound. I have a full surround sound in my other room. Let's visit my other room. You guys see my other room. Some of you are new. G and Trent and Carlos. I don't see you guys all that often. So, and Matej was here. So that's my other room. Bucard Audio A10s, and then the Radiant Acoustics 6.2s, monolith there, and then I have the height channels, and then my surrounds are the center channels turned on the side, and then I have the back surrounds. So my Denon is under here, and then I've got another power switcher there for all the lights and everything else. So that's my theater space. I'm working on a racking system for the TV. All that stuff has got to change on the other side. 2-channel room is where it's at. The sun's reflecting off the pink thing there. So I have a Kenwood VR 510 AVR. That's a pretty good unit. Kenwood was always pretty good. And you don't mean to be mean, but music needs listened to. Yes. Everything is subjective. A lot of audio is subjective. And without hearing it, or at least without asking the right detailed questions, like 1 through 5 first, like, is it overloaded? Do you feel like it's overloaded? What did you do to compensate for this? What are the exact measurements of the room? Because yes, physics doesn't lie. I'm always the first person to say physics doesn't give a shit how you feel. It doesn't. Physics is just going to physics. But we all know that there's ways in audio to compensate for that. And these subs have a very, very capable PEQ that can compensate with 3 different settings and phase control. So that helps balance everything out. These can be crossed over with the port tunings on the back at like 55 hertz. And then the subs can kick in at below that to manage the rest of the weirdness that is in my room, right? Most people would agree. I mean, I'm not being mean, but I'm arguing in such a way that was in the same kind of energy, which is to say, the first comment in, those are too big for your room. Never mind the fact that I have 2 fucking subwoofers on my floor. Those are too big for my room, right? Like, that was a statement. And I approached it with the same energy. But I'm being reasonable. I understand why that would be said if all the other factors weren't done. But great. PCQ, it's free. Kenwood was never good. Sony and Pioneer. I had Sony and Pioneer, actually. Star Trek and you can change the laws of physics. I don't give a crap. I got it for free. Kenwood, yes. Free is good. Free is definitely good, like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of being freedom of maintaining your own peace, which means even though you have freedom, other people have freedoms you have to respect too, like not being pissed off. Like not being subjected to obnoxiously loud music at the wrong times. So let's try to have some respect for people, right? Meet them with kindness, meet them with curiosity, speak well. We're learning, everybody's learning a little bit, open to learning new things. It's really cool. There's that lighting effect is bouncing off my chair. That little bit of sun is going to move up this way. That's going to light my whole room. Keep your goddamn opinion to yourself. I don't need to hear your bullshit. Well, everybody's got a right to say, so it's no reason to. It's only like when it's enforced on someone else, you know what I mean? Like if you're affecting them in a physical way, like playing loud music, you can't stop that. And saying or being obnoxious to someone like in person is a whole other thing. But people have a right to say whatever they have to say, right? Like that's the beauty of freedom of speech. And we don't have to answer. That's the beauty of staying silent. You have the right to remain silent, right? And like I was saying earlier, narcissists just love any kind of attention in return. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. So if you starve them, it's by not answering. Carlos is saying, here's a question. Don't your cards sound better with the supported subs in that room? No, not really. I mean, the way they are in the room, if you want to talk about where they are in the room, they're not anywhere close to the best place in the room. Let's check it out. Where are they in my room? How many feet away from the walls in the back of the room? Like, look how many feet behind. Right? Like, what are we talking about? And if you haven't heard, I have to ask the question in return is, have you heard the A10s? Do you know what these sound like? You know? G is saying, get an old NAD. They're only 30 watts, but I personally don't need any more amps. I'm getting monoblocks from Outlaw Audio for those, and I might change this preamp out. So those are going on some Outlaw Audios because I don't have any passive amps. These are self-powered. These also have master tunings, by the way. So asking a question if the Bucards sound better, you need to ask, which tuning am I using? Oops, another assumption. I had Scott amp before till it died. Scott amp? What is that? I never even heard of that before. Anyways, gone on long enough. This video is almost 2 hours long. I appreciate everybody being here, bro. Having an NAD is rite of passage. Yeah, and I'm on deck to get an M66 preamp. So how about that? I have a Hagel right now, and the Hagel's actually doing really well. But I need to contact the rep that was talking to me about the M66 and see if I can borrow and check it out. I've just heard a couple of things about it, and to be honest with you, the modules I have in here, the Purify modules I have in here, the Egentalk modules, are the same modules that NAD uses in their M23 amps. So Having an NAD badge doesn't mean that it's any better than what I have in here. Think about that. Old ass amp. I'm fine with my amps, thanks. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the way that things are, you know, just if you like something, you can express that. There's no sense in telling someone else what to get or what to do or whatever. Let's, you know what I mean? Like, there's too much of that in audio already. You can express what you like and explain what you have and what it sounds like. If others take influence from that, cool. But like to point a finger or to address someone else and say, hey, you need to get this. Like, no, you need to shut the fuck up. Like, nobody asked. If nobody asked, nobody, don't tell them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's asking. So Scott was good brand back in the Scott. I've never heard of it. I'm like pretty old and I don't remember. It's NAD, not NAD. No, it's an acronym. And now I can bitch at you because NAD actually stands for something. NAD is an acronym, just like the FBI. You don't say FIBI. You know what I mean? Like you say FBI because it's an acronym for something. It's 3 separate letters that represent something. Like you say GTA, right? GTA the game. You don't say GITA. They say GIF, image, which isn't right. It's, you know, that's an acronym too, but it's actually NAD. New Audio Dynamics or something like that. There's a couple of there's words to go along with it. So that argument, bro, I can't support you there. It is NAD. NAD is the way it is. It's not. So if you got, yeah, Fibby, Fibby. If you change it up a little bit, it could be Frisbee. I had Techniques 900 something until I broke the board. Oh shit, man! Techniques makes some good stuff. Did you guys know that the new Techniques, one of the new Techniques, high-end integrated amp is a GAN-FET board, amp board? Check it out. One of the new high-end. It's been called NAD since the 70s. Yeah, but it's always been an acronym. It always stood for something. It stood for those 3 words, and I can't tell. New acoustic dimension. There you go. Google. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate that. So I was right with one of the words. New. New acoustic dimension is what it actually stands for. Just like Dolly. D-A-L-I. We call it Dolly. We say Dolly because it's easy to say. But D-A-L-I actually stands for something else. Denmark Audio something something. That's on Google also. Hey, are we learning here? Are we breaking down audio myths? Do you guys actually appreciate this? True Voice of Reason's too slow today. That. What? Yeah, beat you to it. Nobody calls it that. You can't say what other people call it or not, bro. You can't say what the rest of the world calls something. Just like everybody that has a twisted gender like body dysmorphia problem says you can't call me him or her or she or he or X or Zer or whatever. They all talk about identity. Like you can't tell someone else what they call it. Nobody. Yeah, nobody in the world. 8 billion other people follow what you believe. Step down, man. I have been to a lot of audio shops. Now you're just commanding people. Nobody calls it that. Go to any audio shop. What did above? Did you say just get a yeah? Having NAD is a rite of passage. You're full of telling other people what to do. Really weird energy, man. Really weird energy. It comes off like you know better than anyone else. And whatever you have to say is like the shit, which is a sign of narcissism. It's a little odd. That's all I'm saying. Like people get to say whatever the fuck they want. And there is a reason why it's called certain things. So maybe after hearing the conversation, knowing it's called New Acoustic Dimension, they may change it. They may change it to, now I'll call it NAD. They're able to change it. We used to have Pluto as the 9th planet, and now it doesn't exist. Well, I'm going to say if you want NAD in some stores, they're going to look at you like an idiot, because that's what you just said. G is quoting, just for the people who are watching afterwards, the comments are, go to any hi-fi shop. If you say I want NAD, they'll look at you like an idiot. Well, you know what? Most people that I know that work in audio shops have fucking manners, dude. They're not going to look at you like anything. They're going to look at you like a potential customer. And if you're a really good salesperson, you won't give a shit what anybody says it is. They just want you to buy it. So they're going to say yes. You say whatever you want. They're going to know what you're going to talk about. They're not going to judge you right then and there in the store and like criticize you based on whatever it is that you said. They're going to do whatever that is to close the deal. So I guess you're not a salesperson. Bad vibes, bro. I don't know where you came from, but this isn't the place. We don't fuck around in here. It's like the Gulf of Mexico being called Gulf of America. Yeah, Gulf of America. Why? Because it's in the Americas. And the United States people calling themselves America, that's also wrong. There's North America, South America, Central America. It's all America. America from fucking Canada to Chile. Argentina goes from top to bottom. It's all America. So, yeah. So then you're going up the wrong shop. Yeah, well, maybe. I guess. You can't say that either. Wrong shop is a general opinion. Man, I'm getting tired of fucking looking at your messages. Time out for how many minutes? 30 minutes. Okay. Bye. God, people just fucking don't stop. They don't know when to shut the fuck up. I mean, it's at some point it gets offensive and argumentative. To say you're going to the wrong shops is such a judgmental, shitty attitude. Literally. Carlos, what do you think of GAN amps? I had Orchard Audio. I think those amps that I had with the modified power supplies were really good. Less heat. So like in these amps, the power supply is here and I can feel heat coming off the board because it's like this big, which is this amp chassis is twice the size of my Orchard Audio amp. Orchard Audio amp was only like this big. It was smaller than this. Like my previous videos, you can see them. I'm not saying that just so you go back and watch videos, but I do have other videos. You can see that it's much smaller than that. I think that the GANFET tech, I think it produces less heat overall because I think overall they require less power. They're more expensive than other Class D right now. And there's a very good article on the Buckeye Amps website that talks about the differences between GANFET and traditional Class D right now. And like the Encore, Ice Power, Purify, a couple of other types, they literally have the same kinds of numbers. So you don't really, like, it's splitting hairs. The technical details of either one are about the same. What matters is the input board, right? Like the op amps, the power supply that's used. Does it have a cat board like mine does? Things like that are going to make it sound different. So like when we're talking about like GANFET itself, the amp board, they generally have the same outputs that, you know, they all kind of have the same inaudible differences. Heat differences, implementation differences, okay, maybe. Like AGD Productions, Techniques has a GANFET. There's very few others that have a GANFET. You know, some of the other ones like SMSL Topping, they're starting to make them. the price will come down eventually, so I think we'll get there at a certain time, but it's more important to get your input board right. That makes a difference. The op amps are going to make a difference, and then your power supply and noise filtering capacity, that's going to make a difference in the amp. So, and then that goes with everything. It's the same thing like in a preamp or stereo amp or integrated amp. If your analog input stage and that kind of stage is done correctly and quiet, and you have good capacity and good power supply, whatever it is that's going on in the rest of the circuit, probably the same across the board. But, every company has to do it a little bit differently. So, Dolly listed above. Yes, I did see that. Dolly stood for Danish Audiophile Loudspeaker Industries. So it's DALI, but Dolly is easier to say. So to the point of argument before, without going into all the judgmental nonsense that was added to it, if you say NAD or NAD, most civilized people in audio will know what the hell you're saying without having to draw the difference between which one of the pronouncers you are. It doesn't matter. To people who are civilized, it doesn't matter what the fuck you say. As an acronym, NAD is correct. But NAD is recognizable enough, just like FBI. Otherwise, it's common use, right? And common use can be different depending on where you are. So, pointless argument and not worth judging other people over, that's for sure. Either one of them are fine, but I'm not going to go pointing my fingers to say that, like, oh, you can't use that. You're going to look like an idiot, bro. Fuck, I hope most of you appreciate what I'm doing here. It's been 2 hours. Guys, I gotta go. I really love hanging out with you. Thank you for sticking around and commenting. I appreciate it more than you know. The commenting, the conversation, the willingness to have a conversation with me and see it through. Carlos, appreciate that. Is important. Seeing a conversation from start to finish and respecting along the way is really important. I mean, I can joke around with friends, and I didn't ban G or whoever he was from the channel, just a timeout. And I hope to see good comments afterwards, because, I mean, really, there's a limit, right? Like I said, you don't be obnoxious. There's no need to force anything on people. There are correct things, like, yeah, the room could be overloaded, but I've compensated as best I can, knowing that's a fact, and some people don't. So, yeah, NAD was a British brand, now Canadian. Well, NAD is now managed by Lenbrook companies. I do believe that NAD is not. I think it's actually German. I don't remember exactly. Something to look into, though. But originally it was European based, but I don't know. I have to look into the history of that. That's interesting. Could be right. I'm not saying you're not right. I'm saying I don't remember exactly. So have a great weekend. I'm glad I got to be part of the live for a bit. Thank you, Mirage, for being here. I know the weekends usually get pretty busy. Friday, like I just had to do it. It is what it is. Say how you had 5 likes. Now it's down to 4. I wonder who pulled their like. I don't mind. Hey, you know what? That's fine. That's totally fine. Everybody has a right to like or not like or whatever. Like they have that right? Like I say to anybody else, and I said before about supporting brands, like if you don't appreciate the brand and you don't want to support, stuff made in other countries, you don't want to support this or that, like the freedom of voting with your expression is important. I value that. If my standing my grounds and muting somebody from chat or timing them out for a little while is upsetting enough that they want to take the like away, That's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't need that supporting here, and I'm totally confident in making my decision. If that takes away some of the quote unquote support, then I'm not about to kiss somebody's ass just so they give me a like. That's fine. Totally fine. I am more willing. I'm more willing to keep the 20 really good people out of 100 than compromise or negate my integrity or speak like some sort of spineless yellow belly piece of shit just because I want attention. That's what a narcissist would do. And I'm not looking for that kind of attention. You know what I mean? It's everybody's free choice. You want to like it, don't want to like it, don't want to share it. That's fine. Do as you do. But out of respect for others and, being here, just speak well. You know what I mean? Like bare minimum requirements for entry is respect. And if respect is not given or at least understood or mutually agreed upon within the realm of comedy or otherwise, then, bon voyage, take it easy. Peace out. See you later. NAD history's on the website. Cool. And there's a good NAD video out there too. Yep. We'll watch that right now, actually. Cool. So, True Voice of Reason, Carlos, good to have you here. Honestly, I'm glad that we could walk through the whole process here and how I'm managing, because you're right, it can overload the room, but they're not. And I'm slowly looking at changing this stuff up to manage it even a little bit better. But the other thing too is Audio Research is a good big speaker brand. Audio Research makes amps. Audio Research doesn't make speakers. Do they? I don't remember if they make speakers. I don't think so. Is it the same brand? Audio Research, the US company that makes tube amps, tube pre's? I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to look that up too. Thank you guys for being here, commenting. Stick around. If you haven't subbed, then you can sub and then comment on other videos. I have a speaker from there. Interesting. I'm going to have to look up if they ever made speakers. I don't know how old, so that's actually pretty cool. I only know them as a electronics company. I actually know Val that works, Val from Acora Acoustics, who bought Audio Research. Interesting. I did not know that they made speakers. That's pretty cool. Anyways, I know Val. He, Acora Acoustics is up the street from me. That's another Canadian brand that I was talking about. Didn't talk about. I should have, but yeah. Totem, another Canadian brand. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. 2 hours and 4 minutes. Thank you very much. It's probably one of the longest lives that I've done in a long while. So, new preamps. I'm going to end it off. New preamp. I'm looking to try out Musical Fidelity M6S, I think. The M6 Pre. And then I need to try and get a hold of my friend about the NAD M66. The NAD M66 Pre, maybe. And then the other one that I might keep, True Voice of Reason if you're still here, the Michi P5. Yeah, that's the one I'm hoping does everything that I like, because it's got a built-in DAC, the 9028 Pros dual, very, very good build quality, hand-wound, made toroidal transformers, Rotel. I just want to, you know what I mean? Like I'm praying that it works out. It's got dual XLR outputs. It's got dual RCA outputs. It's got subwoofer mono outputs, so I can actually output them specifically for subs. It's got the looks that I want. The remote is amazing. Yeah, I'm looking to borrow or check out the P5 just to make sure that it doesn't have any quirky things, and then we'll see. I think that might be the one I'll land on. Someone pointed out Moon Audio, but there's nothing in the area that's cheap. The best that I found was the 740p for like $6,000. You know what? I'm not spending that on a preamp. Can't do it. I've got speakers to upgrade, subs to upgrade. These will go in the theater, and these will probably get sold for something else. Now it depends on whether I can afford it. But yeah, Michi P5. And then I'm also looking at Eversolo's A8 for streamer DAC. So that's cool that I can use a streamer DAC because those have AKM chips, and then I'll feed the analog into the P5 and I can just bypass the whole thing. Yeah, interesting stuff. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Enjoy your music because you're the only one that has to. Everybody else can just zip, do the whole scene, enter the scene from Austin Powers and Dr. Evil. Zip, just listen to some good music, play tunes, check out the other playlists for demos, and then Spotify, my playlists are all there. Kobuz, Tidal, same name. If you guys don't know any of the stuff, you're really reasonably new. All those stuff should be on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Kobuz, Spotify, Tidal, all the same name everywhere. If you guys want to find, just Google that. It'll pop up everywhere. So peace. Thank you guys so much. The other side of the heart's up to you. I'll see you guys in the future. Probably tomorrow. Maybe, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but we'll see. But have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. Peace. Peace. Whatever peace means to you, do it. All right. Later, guys.